The Nissan Rogue has been the brand's bread and butter for many years. In fact, we're now on decades here. The compact crossover segment continues to grow, and Americans just can't seem to get enough of these vehicles. But right now in 2025, crossovers are on the rise in regards to pricing, mostly because of those tariffs, but also just in general with technology and other safety systems becoming standard. These vehicles are now getting very pricey and out of reach for a lot of consumers right now. In today's video, we're going to check out the 2025 Nissan Rogue SV. Now this trim does offer an optional package, which we'll talk about later on in this video, that I think makes this a great value and possibly the best choice in the lineup for the Nissan Rogue. In today's video, we're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why. If you are looking at buying a compact crossover for you and your family at around $35,000, then maybe taking a look at the Nissan Rogue SV might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Nissan of Merrimack Valley here in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, for letting come down here to check out the Nissan Rogue. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Nissan inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For 2025 with the Nissan Rogue SV, you're looking at a starting cost of just under $31,000. Now, all-wheel drive will tack on a few $100s to that price tag, so keep that in mind. But I think for a lot of you living in colder regions of the US, all-wheel drive will make a lot of sense and it would be worth the extra cost there at the end of the day. Now, pricing is the reason why I am here though, because for 2025, as we already know with the tariff situation, which will increase costs for a lot of manufacturers that don't build their vehicles in America, Nissan is countering all of this by giving buyers a $1,000 discount on the Rogue and Pathfinder as I speak. Now, I have no idea how long that offer is going to be provided to customers, but still, $1,000 off, that makes a world of a difference right now in 2025. And I want to know what this trim is offering here. What is it going to be giving you at around $32,000? Well, let's talk about that. In regards to the exterior for the Rogue, you are going to receive full LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. In typical 2020 fashion, they are in split headlight housings, and we see a lot of this now in the modern day. This is very trendy, and we've seen this from Nissan for a very long time, so no surprises there. However, back in 2024, there was a mid-cycle refresh, and what they've done here is that they've made this vehicle look like it's in motion when it's standing still. You see the design elements with the headlights and also even the grille as well, and it looks a bit more sporty and dynamic. Now, call me superficial though, when I look at the Rogue from the outside, I prefer the Raw Creek. I think the Raw Creek goes very well with the squared off body lines and rugged appearance to this model because there is a relatively good amount of plastic cladding throughout this vehicle for the front and rear fascias and also the side profile, which makes this vehicle look rugged right from the start. For the lower portion of the front bumper, you are going to notice that cladding once again. You're not going to have fog lights, however, you are going to have functional side air curtains. That is right, so it gives this vehicle an aerodynamic appearance and at least doesn't look cheap in that regard. A lot of manufacturers don't give you functional side air curtains, so I love to see that. Now, taking a look at the side profile with the Nissan Rogue SV, you are going to have 18-inch alloy wheels. Now, 18s for a vehicle in this market shouldn't be too much of an issue, but we'll talk about that later on during the test drive. Now, in regards to the interior insulation, this vehicle is quite good, but again, keep in mind it is priced at around $32,000, so it's not going to have the same amount of interior insulation as the SL and Platinum. Now, you are going to have color matched side mirror caps, but no turn signal indicators. However, you will have blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, nothing really different here for this model for 2025. Same taillight design, and also you're going to have the Rogue badge written out on the tailgate. Very trendy, and we see this a lot in the automotive world. The one thing I am going to talk about though is the fact that with this model it has that squared off roofline and also aggressive C-pillars, making this vehicle look off-road ready, which is why I think having the Raw Creek in the lineup makes a lot of sense for this vehicle. And I am intrigued to see what Nissan does for another generation down the road, because this generation Rogue has been around for quite some time. For the lower portion of the rear bumper, you are going to have that cladding once again. Also, for those of you who are considering going off-road with the SV of 8.2 inches of ground clearance, which isn't too bad in this market, that would outclass some compact crossovers at around $30,000 to $35,000. Now, you're not going to have visible exhaust outlets, those would be tucked beneath the bumper for that cleaner appearance, and overall what you have here for 2025 is still a good-looking compact crossover. Powering the Nissan Rogue we have today is a 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, producing 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with a CVT. Earlier models for this generation did receive a 4-cylinder, and this is the direction the automotive industry is going in. Now, at 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, this is better than what you're going to find out of a Turbo 3 from the Ford Escape. So you might want to keep that in mind. Now, better yet with this model, as we see with a lot of compact crossovers in this segment, you can go with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. We have all-wheel drive for that better year-round capability. Probably more importantly, though, is going to be that fuel economy, which I think a lot of you are looking for out of a model such as this. So in the city, you're looking at right around 28 miles per gallon in the city and 35 miles per gallon on the highway for a combined average of 31 miles per gallon. With a Nissan Rogue, this has never been a performance crossover, and it's mostly all about the value and the intangibles. And at least for the fuel economy, it falls right in line with its closest rivals. Hopping inside the Nissan Rogue SV we had today, we're greeted by heated leatherette seats for both the driver and passenger. Now, the driver's side does have power adjustability, whereas the passenger will have to manually find the ideal seating position. So if you're looking for a power passenger seat, you have to go with the SL or Platinum for 2025. Now, we get this through the SV Premium package for $2,000 because a regular SV has cloth upholstery, which is still going to be very nice, but you don't have heated front seats, you don't get the heated steering wheel, you don't get a panoramic moonroof or the roof rails. I think for $2,000, you're receiving a lot here. And if you're someone who doesn't want to spend over $40,000, all you really want is some creature comforts and amenities, and you want a vehicle that is still going to be fitting your frugal lifestyle, you're going to have that here with the Nissan Rogue SV. In regards to the comfort for these seats, they provide a lot of cushioning and support. I am a bit surprised by the bolstering because they are a bit more aggressive, and you don't really expect that out of a vehicle that isn't sports tuned. So I think on those longer road trips, weekday commutes, also possibly those longer road trips, I think you're going to find yourself quite comfortable here being behind the wheel of the Nissan Rogue. Now, like I mentioned before, by going with the SV, you are sacrificing a few things here because you don't get the full digital gauge cluster, you don't get the larger infotainment system with Google built-in software. We'll talk about the head unit in a minute. In front of you will be a small information display in between your analog gauges. And by using the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel, you can scroll through some information here and customize what you see from the screen in front of you, such as your digital speedometer. But what I find really, really interesting, and this is what's drawn my attention, is the fact you do get a boost gauge. You get a boost gauge in a Nissan Rogue. That is kind of cool to see because a lot of vehicles that do have turbos don't even show you that in this market. So I think it's a nice little Easter egg there in this model. Now, you can also scroll through your radio settings as well. You can also turn on or off your safety systems, which I would leave all of them on for added safety and assurance and also peace of mind when you are going on those road trips with the family. Now, again, this is all basic information. It's not going to be super intuitive or in-depth like you are going to find in the higher trims for 2025, but I think it's providing more than enough here at around $32,000 to start. And again, if you're someone who doesn't want to have a lot of technology at your fingertips or at your disposal, this is going to be a great way to get you involved in this market now for the 2020s. Now, taking a look at the infotainment system, again, this is not going to be the large 12-inch infotainment system with Google built-in software, but you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. If you are familiar with older Nissan products, this head unit will be very similar to what you had found in prior model years and older Nissan products. So at the bottom of the screen will be quick access icons for your menu, your camera, your Bluetooth, and also your audio settings. So at least you have some physical buttons here to work with now in 2025. On both sides of the screen will be your volume and tuning knobs as well. And this infotainment system is very, very straightforward and trimmed down, but I do think the resolution and quality is pretty good. Now, when you place this vehicle in reverse, you are going to have a rear backup camera with trajectory, but no other angles to work with. So very typical for a vehicle at around $32,000, but I think what we have here for the SV, through that SV Premium package, we have that quality, we have that comfort, and that's what's most important at the end of the day. Beneath the head unit, you are going to find physical buttons and dials for your dual zone climate control, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. So dual zone climate control here, that is a huge win here for the 2025 Nissan Rogue SV, and again, gives you that comfort that you're looking for out of a model such as this. Beneath that will be 2 USB-C inputs, a 12-volt outlet, also your push-button start, then a cubby for a smartphone or wallet. Then for the center console itself, you're going to have that gear selector here, which we see a lot of in the Nissan product line, your auto vehicle hold and electronic parking brake, 2 cup holders, then your drive mode selector. So you will have an off-road mode here with the SV, although I think you'd probably choose the Rock Creek if you are someone who is an avid adventurer. Also snow mode, auto, eco, and sport. So this vehicle does give you some flexibility here. It also gives you some versatility, and that's what's most important here out of a vehicle such as this. For the center storage compartment, it's not going to be as wide as we see in some vehicles in this market. However, it is quite deep, so you could probably store some smaller water bottles, and there is a cubby for some loose change as well. Then to round out the front seating area, above will be that panoramic moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. For passengers in the second row, they're going to receive right around 38.5 inches of legroom, and we're going to see that across the board for all trims for 2025. Now, this is on par with a lot of vehicles in this market, not named the Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V. At 38.5 inches of legroom, you can have tall passengers sit back here relatively comfortably. Believe it or not, the seat in front of me is adjusted all the way back, and I have plenty of legroom here. Also, I think tall passengers can sit back here even with the panoramic moonroof. I don't think they'll be hitting their head on the headliner. But more importantly though, with the SV premium package that we have on our model, the leather at sea material does go a long way, gives you some cushioning, bolstering, and support, adds a lot of quality to the driving experience, or when you are a passenger, you can just sit back here and relax and enjoy that longer road trip. But you also get sunshades, and that is very rare to find in a vehicle under $40,000. This blocks out the haters, blocks out the sunlight, and gives you some extra privacy on those road trips. I love to see that. Now for the Nissan Rogue though, due to its size, I think you can squeeze in a third person in the center, and that gives you a lot of flexibility and versatility if you are looking at buying a vehicle in this market. Also back here, you will have 2 rear air vents to go along with 2 USB-C inputs. Then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Making our way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area, by going with the Nissan Rogue SV, you are going to receive a power liftgate. And inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right around 36 cubic feet of room. Now that isn't class leading and does fall a bit short compared to a Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V, but not by much. This would be a bit better than the Mazda CX-5, on par with the Mitsubishi Outlander and also the Ford Escape. So very practical for what this vehicle is offering here at around $32,000. On top of this, you do have some pockets on the sides for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Also with the Nissan Rogue, you have a higher roof line, so you can stack up a lot of items back here if you are going on a road trip with the family. Better yet, beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire. So if you encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. And then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right around 74 cubic feet of room, which falls right in line with many vehicles in this market. So if you're looking to upsize in the Nissan product line from that Kicks, the Rogue is going to be that nice upgrade at around $32,000. What makes the 2025 Nissan Rogue SV so compelling right now is the fact that, one, it's affordable at around $31,000 to start, but 2, it's practical, has a lot of interior space, and best of all, efficient, even though I would like to see Nissan drop in a hybrid powertrain at some point down the road. But what we have here for the SV today, with the SV Premium package, is a vehicle that does feel somewhat upscale. Now, I am using that term somewhat loosely because I think a lot of buyers are looking for full digital gauge clusters, larger infotainment systems, maybe even leather seats. But leather at sea material, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, dual zone climate control, and panoramic moonroof, I think is more than enough here for a vehicle at around $35,000. Now, I have never experienced this Turbo 3, so this is going to be a new experience for me, and we're going to pop it into sport mode and see what that does to the driving experience. But I'm quite intrigued here because the last time I featured the Rogue, we had the 4-cylinder, so I want to see if this feels a bit more peppy, because 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque is nothing to overlook. Now, as we enter the highway here, you do feel some body roll in the corners, but This Turbo 3 is quite responsive. Now, better yet, you had that CVT, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, the droning with that CVT. It mimics the gear shifts quite well. And I think that this engine provides some refinement here where it is quite smooth, and I noticed that the power band is actually really nice as well. Now let's see if we can pass a slower driver or two before I get off the highway. And in sport mode, very compliant. Very compliant. Now, from what I remember the last time I featured the Rogue, there was some droning with that CVT. And even though I'm not on throttle going 8 or 9 tenths, the gear shifts are smooth, and also this powertrain is somewhat quiet. Now, as expected for a vehicle like the SV at $31,000, there is a lot of road noise entering the cabin. Obviously, with the Rogue having a boxier shape, I would expect that with the wind noise, but also we have 18-inch wheels, and that is creating some road noise here. But it does have a nice composure on the roadways, and steering input is pretty nice. Now, it does have some lighter steering here. It's not going to feel like a sports car, so don't expect the Nissan Z experience or Nissan GTR experience. But I do think that in the city and suburbs, there's going to be some maneuverability here. Now, on the brakes, not too bad. There is some travel on that brake pedal, but it does provide some confidence here. Now, as we're stuck at this red light, might as well go over the interior layout and also the vision that we have here to work with. The A-pillars are super thin, which is great to see because some vehicles do have larger A-pillars creating some blind spots here and there. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. You have a nice panoramic view in front of you. Also, when you take a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized, which I'm a bit surprised by for a vehicle in this market. I can't see what's in my blind spots and in the lane next to me. And then looking out back, nice clear view back there, even though we have the headrests in the way. In regards to seat positioning though, you do sit pretty high up in this model, which does give you some safety and also gives you a lot more visibility when you are in those city situations. So I think you're going to like the seat positioning for this model. And getting back to the interior layout for this model, everything is within arm's reach of the driver for the infotainment system, for your climate controls, and then also, of course, for your steering wheel here with the information display. So it does have more of a cockpit-like feel for the interior, which I think a lot of you are going to appreciate. With all that being said, though, I think the SL is going to be the best trim to go with for 2025. Mostly because you get the full digital gauge cluster and Google built-in software, which makes the Rogue feel so much more competitive in this segment. Now, that is not a takeaway from what I had to say about the SV, because I think what we have here is a great vehicle at around $32,000, and the model we have today provides a lot of creature comforts and amenities. But one thing I will say, though, is that with this chassis and platform, it is starting to show its age a bit. And I do think that we're going to have to see a new generation pop up very soon. Mostly because what I experienced with the Nissan Kicks and Murano, those vehicles felt a lot more refined. And I think for the Nissan Kicks for 2025, that might be the go-to in the lineup for those of you who are on a stricter budget because of its practicality and also that new technology. But because the Nissan Murano felt so refined, this does feel a bit more older in the Nissan product line. So I'd love to see a new generation come very soon. But for those of you looking for a compact crossover of this size at around $35,000, the SV is still providing a lot to work with, but if you can just spend a little bit more for that SL, that to me would be the better choice. But all in all, after spending some time with the Nissan Rogue today, it's still a solid choice. Again, it comes back to those intangibles, comes back to the fact that it is so practical, efficient, and affordable. And that, I think, is what makes this vehicle so popular in the US and in a very oversaturated market. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Nissan Rogue SV. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.